Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take some time here to look at the jab, and I want to spend some time on this one because it's such a fundamental punch. We're going to start with stance. The stance is super important. You notice that the feet are just about maybe a touch outside shoulder width. I want to be careful I'm not too narrow because then I lose power on all my punches. If I'm too wide, then I lose movement capability and mobility. So when I'm moving around, I always want to find that stance. You'll also notice, and it's a little hard to see from this angle, but my back foot is going to be slightly in front of my front foot. So that way I have a little bit of stability right and left, as well as some stability forward and back. Now, anchoring in positions. Notice how both of the elbows are tight and protecting the ribs. I also have the hands up and guarding the chin. You can also see how the chin is just gently tucked down behind the gloves, but eyes are still forward. Now we're going to look at one at full speed. As you're looking at this, think of a cobra that's striking. It starts in one position, it jumps out and jumps back right to that same starting position. So what we're looking for is, can we start and finish in the same position? So quick snap and then return back. Now if we look at that just a little bit slower, we want to see if we are getting good extension through the arm and minimal shifting into the body. So as we go into our next punch here, we want to kind of take a peek what's happening with the feet and the rest of the body. So here we have a tiny bit of weight shift, but you notice I'm not losing that back round. It's not coming up off the ground. There's also very little movement to it. So I'm trying to keep my center right over top of my base, and that's super important there. I'm trying to reach the arm and extend towards the opponent while keeping the chin slightly tucked and keeping this opposite hand protecting the face. It's really easy to start to drop this hand when I'm throwing that jab on my left. So can I get this nice long arm and contact the opponent at the length of that jab with minimal shifting to the weight? Think of it this way. If I start throwing my whole body towards the opponent, which we often do when we're not fully extending the arm, what ends up happening is I take my face closer to my opponent, which means that they can hit me too. So I want to get that long length and move on the arm and making contact at extension. Now, a big thing here to especially protect the elbow is I'm trying to keep my shoulder screwed in. So what I mean by that is we're looking at turning the bicep away from the ear and bringing the tricep forward towards the ribs, and that's going to create good position in the shoulder. It's a little harder to see from this angle, but there's space right here between the ear and the shoulder. If I notice that that shoulder pops up and looks like I'm shrugging, then I'm probably not screwing the arm in. And again, keeping that other hand. Now, if I want to increase my distance a little bit, there's another way that we can hit this where I actually take this front side hip and start to drive it towards the opponent. So that way it helps me keep more weight on this back foot while still getting a big reach. So as I extend long through here, and you'll see there's even a tiny bit of pivot down in that front foot, but I'm trying to kind of reach and extend this hip towards the opponent. You notice how this allows me to keep my center right on top of my base more effectively, so I'm trying to keep my center in between the feet. It also gives me that really long extension. So looking at this over the last time, you see I got a little bit more reach onto the opponent into the bag. So let's take a look at those again one more time. We'll take a look at them a little bit slower. Actually, let's back it up here just a little bit. There we go. And so I'm extending, hitting at the end range, and then right back to where I started. A big mistake we make is flaring this elbow, this lead elbow here, kind of out to the side. And I want to be careful that I'm not flaring that elbow out, but keeping it tight and then bringing it tight back in. So with your jab, think getting long in the arm and staying on top of your base.